Romy Sommer. It is Sommer, is it?
It's pronounced Sommer. It's the German for summer.
Oh, okay. In the middle of a South African winter.
Indeed.
Romy, I have 3 of your lovely paperback novels in front of me, and each on the cover has an embracing couple. All 3 men are tall, dark and handsome. In fact, one of them is very dark. And the women are young and lissom. Those were the days. You write very well what I call happily ever after stories.
Absolutely, yes.
Why?
Well, I just love the idea of romance. Apart from the fact that, relationships are something absolutely every one of us can identify with. For me, if I'm going to be spending months and months in the head of characters, I want to know that they're going to have a happy ever after. I couldn't bear to torture them too much for many months on end. Also because I read romance a lot to escape. You come home from a stressful day at work, you want to just read something light and a little bit fluffy, something that's going to make you laugh, maybe make you cry. And so I write what I like to read.
And I'm just wondering, the old Mills and Boon formula of, lovers meet. I mean, Shakespeare used it in some of his plays, didn't he? Lovers meet, there's some problem. And then lovers live happily ever after. Do you sort of kind of have that formula in mind?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think that's pretty much the universal archetype for romances. Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte, all of them throw obstacles in the course of true love. And, of course, by the end of it, you hope that, well, not quite with Shakespeare, but with most of the others, you do land up with a happy ending.
Well, the one that I read, of the 3, I read one, and it's called To Catch a Star. And, of course, their problem is that she doesn't like him. In fact, they don't like each other right at the beginning. That was an interesting one to resolve.
Correct. Also, I pushed the boundaries a little bit with that particular book because my heroine starts off the novel engaged to somebody else, which I was actually told cannot be done in romances. There shouldn't be any cheating in romances. And I thought, well, I don't like to be told what I can and can't do, so I set out to break the mold and try and handle it as sensitively as possible, which I'm hoping I've achieved. But yes, I love that idea of contrast and opposites attract and people complementing one another even though they are so completely different.
And of course, I remember the good old Barbara Cartland days. I mean, I think I interviewed her in London a million years ago, when when Barbara Cartland would say something like, and then she fell backwards onto the bed and he ... Now, you don't do the ... Sex comes into your books.
No, very much more explicit these days. I never thought I was going to land up writing explicit scenes, I have to admit. When I first started out, I was very shy. And somehow the characters just take over. And some stories, I've written stories where there's completely no sex at all, and others where it's fairly dominant. And I think it depends on the characters and who they are as people.
And Romy, you say it depends on the characters. How do you write? I mean, who is it? Jeffrey Deaver says that he spends 8 months planning on A4 sheets stuck up on a board. Wilbur Smith said that when he sits down at the typewriter at the computer, he has no idea what the story is going to be. How have you planned the story in your mind?
I think I'm definitely more the Jeffrey Deaver style, because I will spend months thinking about a story and staring into space and doing research, particularly for my 4th book, which is a little bit different because it's not part of the trilogy that you've got. But not a fairy tale. I did months of research into all sorts of interesting things before I even literally put pen to paper or hands to keyboard. Some books just flow. Waking Up in Vegas, my first book, I wrote in 29 days flat.
Good Lord.
And yes, I still don't know quite how I did it.
Well, there they are. There they are holding hands on the cover, and she's in her wedding dress. So obviously that turned out okay.
It did indeed. That cover actually does not truly represent what happens in the book, because she never does really wear a wedding dress, and both my characters are blonde. But I must say I like that cover because it captures the spirit of the book.
And of Las Vegas, yeah.
Yes.
And Romy, you founded ROSA. Tell us about that.
Correct. ROSA is the Romance Writers Organization of South Africa, with a very small W, because we like the link with the rose flower, of course. We were established several years by just literally a handful of us who felt that There are some amazing organizations for romance writers internationally, but there was nothing like that for South Africans. And romance has always been kind of the poor cousin to literary fiction and poetry in South Africa. So we wanted a safe place where writers could come together, exchange ideas, support each other, and also share information and help develop the craft of writing. Romance also often gets a bit of a bad rap, and people think it's very formulaic and they're not very good books. And I'm specifically wanting to uplift both the status of romance and obviously the quality of it. We want to put South Africa on the map. The Australians did it years ago. There are a lot of romance novels set in Australia with Australian heroes. And let's face it, we live in an amazing country here. People overseas want to find out about South Africa. So we want to put South African writers and books set in South Africa on the world map.
Now, how would somebody living in Cape Town access your organisation?
We have an online, we have a Facebook group. We also have an online Yahoo group where we chat.
Could you give us
Most of our interactions happen in sort of online, but we do actually have a chapter that's based in Cape Town and run by an author called Angela Wells. And we are doing a conference this year in Stellenbosch. What we are going to do is alternate the conference between Johannesburg and Cape Town each year. So this year is Cape Town's turn, and we're in the Winelands.
And give us the details, when, where, how to access it?
It's happening on the long weekend at the end of September, so that's 25 and 26 September, at the Devon Valley Hotel in Stellenbosch. And all the information is up on our website, which is at www.romancewriters.co.za. We have got some amazing guest speakers. It's 2 jam-packed days full of guest speakers, workshops, and the opportunity for authors to pitch their works to literary agents overseas and to some of the big romance publishers overseas.
That sounds fantastic. We were talking to Romy Sommer with a Z, actually, about her very good, sort of upmarket chick lit. Thank you, Romy.